Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Anna Braun.
Here.
Timothy Cummings.
Here.
Antonetta Vola.
Here.
Jamie Falco.
Here.
Louis Figueroa.
Here.
Lori Herrick. Lee Woo Hung. Wilbur Pan.
Here.
Mary Ann Tenues.
Here. We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located at 760 Route 18, East Brunswick, New Jersey. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News Tribune, the Alternative Press of East Brunswick, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. It is the policy of the Board of Education that videotaped meetings are not edited for any purpose. Individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Okay, we are moving right into our Finance Committee of the Whole 2027 budget discussion.
Okay. So we're going to follow the same format that we did last board meeting where there's a number of slides. We'll talk through them. Any questions, any comments? And then after this portion, we'll go to the tentative budget. Before we get into the slides, I just want to remind the board the tentative budget is a starting point. It has to be balanced as we go along this process, as changes are made. We'll incorporate them into the budget, run them through the Department of Education budget software to make sure all the edit checks are taken care of, and eventually, end up at a final adopted budget. So again, this is just the starting point. There are some things that we still have to get through, and we'll see that as we go through the slides.
So our goals for tonight, I just wanted to codify this a little bit for the board. I was thinking about what have we been doing, This notion that budget only starts during this particular period is not necessarily a good one because it's not sustainable. It does not begin and end with the May adoption. There are things we have to keep going and keep doing. So ever since I came on board in December, I thought to myself, what have I been doing with the team? And what have we always said? We wanted to be clear and we wanted to be strategic. So everything we've done has been intentional so far. And is it slow maybe? Yes, it's slow, but because we're thinking through it. Thinking through it because our one goal is really to protect core instructional quality. I was going through, just if I were to, the last 2 years, cuts have been made from academics more than anywhere else. If we have excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts, there needs to be a balance. There isn't. We've cut at least, and I stopped calculating, over $3 million so far from academics in the last 2 years. And that does not equal the cuts made in the arts or the cuts made in athletics, right? So if our tagline is academics, athletics, and the art, that should be our Northern Star or North Star, whatever. that should be the focus. So for me, I've been really focused on really pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves to take a look at everything top down. How can we do things better? I did not want to come to you and say, this is the deficit we have, therefore we need equal tax hikes to meet that. I knew that that would not be acceptable to me, so for sure we weren't going to come to you with that. So the team They've heard me since I got here, what the vision was, and we've been working together as a team to do that. And the work still continues. Because in order to do that, there are certain things we need to know. And as you know, we need to know what the state aid is. That didn't come out until a couple weeks ago. Then you know that. Then you have to go back and forth. We still also don't know. The state aid tells us, what's the maximum, what's the cap for the tax. We don't know where we're going to land, because if we do, then we can plan accordingly. So you start to go through for every 1%, 1.5 million. So what will that take? What will that take? And then it's so difficult when you're not looking at big buckets. You're not looking at $100,000 buckets or $200,000 buckets. You're really looking at shaving 5,000 here, 10,000 here. So the work is a lot. And so making data-driven decisions has eased the work for us a little bit. So asking what's the why and how do I know? Where is it? Show me. I wake up, I see numbers. I go to sleep, I see numbers. So that work has been going on across the board. And we really wanted to communicate transparently. We're trying really hard. I know, I hear people think we're hiding something. We're not. They say all sorts of things, but that's not true. But whatever. We really want to try to communicate transparently. And we know that this is our first time, and I'm speaking for Joe now. This is our first time. We have a lot of work to do. And I know that every time we spend here and we talk to the board and we meet and we learn, we take something away, and we're constantly adjusting and trying to do better. It's just unfortunate the timing is very tight. But I think for me, my promise to you, the community, is that even when we get to May, because whatever we do today in terms of a tentative budget, it really is a starting point. It doesn't even really matter. We just have to start from somewhere so we can build to get to where we really should. And I did go back to look at the last 2 years to see, was there any difference between the tentative budget and the final? And there was, every single time. So I just want to, again, ease that level of, we're not voting on anything that is permanent today. We've been very consistent in even our words and how we've been really communicating and speaking about budgets, because we know it is, people's livelihood, it is people's taxes, and so we want to be mindful of it all. So one of the things that we've been doing that has us all stressed out, because I know you all look stressed out. Should we be stressed out? No, we will be stressed out. Joe would be stressed out. Is to evaluate is evaluating programs for effectiveness, right? So if you don't, whatever data you put in is the data you get out, right? So having metrics that's objective and having defined effectiveness before something gets going for us to evaluate the program is proving challenging, right? Because we've not always done it this way, and here we are. So we're trying to evaluate programs for how effective they are and making sure that we're able to measure it in a way that makes sense. So that has taken a lot of our time. We're looking at everything, right? Everything that makes up our whole organization. You think about it, that's what we're doing. Programs does not just speak to what's happening in the classroom. We say programs and people automatically think, oh, that must be the classroom. No, we're also thinking about things that happen outside the classroom. All the little facets, whether it is the people who work in the back end, who keep our things going, from people who are helping us be East Brunswick, right? All our extracurricular things we're looking at, instructional programs, we're looking at little pieces that make up things that we do not know, our clubs, like there's so much, all of it we're looking at. And we're looking at that for effectiveness, and where we can, we're not pushing some agenda where it's like you must meet this or not, even when it doesn't make sense. And that's hence the difficulty, right? But we're streamlining areas that we see that there are overlapping initiatives. If we have, like EdTech, for instance, we have this education technology program that does the same thing as this and this and that. We're streamlining to say, which one do we prefer? And which one is doing the work? Where is that data? Where do we see? What are people using? And then working to cut the one that we don't. So we're really kind of shaving off rather than just indiscriminately cutting things to balance the budget. And more so, and I think this is the biggest challenge for all of us as a community, we have to plan proactively for long-term sustainability. This is not sustainable. This, every year, we're here. This is not, I cannot lead this way. We cannot lead this way. Our kids deserve better. We deserve better. We could do better. So we need to start to think about decisions that we're making now that have consequences later, right? So we need to forecast out and see if we cut it now, what does that look like next year and the year after? That's where we are. The academics, for instance, is cut to the bone. You're beginning to see kind of like the tension there, where people are demanding more and we're unable to do more. We've cut our coaches, instructional coaches, specialists, supervisors who are closest to kids or staff who are closest to it. We've cut that in the last 2 years. Of course we're feeling things are, that's how you're feeling, we're all feeling the pain now where, you know, it takes forever to get data from here like, oh, that person used to do it, but they're not here anymore, but we did not automate it. So I'm still looking at things like that. What things do we have that we can automate that can help us do better? We have a lot to do, is what I'm saying. So as we have this conversation today, as we go through what we're going to go through, I just want us to keep that in mind. That was really important that I opened this way. Is that good? All right.
Slide. So the other goals tonight, of course, open discussion on the budget, a recap, budget reductions to close the deficit, tax levy, and tentative budget. So the first slide is where we're at. When we compiled everything, the projected appropriations, that's the expenditures for the general fund, it totals $214 million. The projected revenues, which comprises budgeted fund balance, state aid, taxes, the miscellaneous income that we bring in, is $208 million, leaving us with a deficit of 5.5, almost $5.6 million. It's important to note that the projected revenue, as the asterisk indicates, that includes a tax increase of 6.16%. So as we go through the slides, the deficit amount will be referred to again, and the impact of the 6.16% will be detailed. So if there's any questions on this summary sheet, be happy to try to.
I just want to clarify that the 6.16% is what's being proposed. It's not
Yes.
what we are
Yes.
confirming unless that's what everybody wants.
Yeah,
Okay.
No.
that's what's in the tentative budget.
Yes,
Right
that's
now.
how far we can go, right? That's the,
It's not to the tippy top, but it's the vast majority due to the 2%
cap.
cap plus the health benefit adjustment to the tax levy that we're allowed.
And I also want to be clear that even with the increase, we will still have a deficit of 5.5.
Yes.
How high can you go?
I believe we have another about $600,000 that we could increase. And this goes into the complication of the Department of Ed budget software. As we input numbers and we make revisions, those cap adjustments recalculate. So it's not a matter of just, reduce this line item and then you're done. It's like you hit one screen and then you have to go into 10 other screens for the system to recalculate everything. So it's a domino effect.
Antoinette.
Thank you. That proposal, make sure I say that correctly, that proposal for the 6.16%, would that be with the conversations that we had the other day with increasing fees and removing free and reduced?
So,
This is as is with no adjustments.
so when we get to the next slide, a couple slides in, we'll talk about the reductions that we've talked about in the past, and we found some other items. It does not include any increases to fees because we haven't determined that, right?
Right.
At the last board meeting, there was a couple things asked, so we're trying to pull that information together to present so the board can make a decision. But I think it is important, say fees, we raise it $10,000. It brings in an additional $10,000 in revenue. Right now, it would decrease the deficit by that 10,000, or the board would say, keep that deficit, keep on finding ways to reduce, and that $10,000 needs to go directly to tax relief, right? Those are the two options. It's either going to help close the deficit or keep the deficit but reduce the tax burden. Makes sense?
No, it makes sense. I
Okay.
just want to be clear because raising everything everywhere and you're getting less is not what I'm signing up for. Thank you.
So just to be clear, the deficit we have right now is considering a 6.16%, and then that remaining 5.59 deficit has to be made up operationally somehow,
So
right?
your
Okay.
two options are to find other revenue or reduce your expenditures.
Okay.
So in order to close that $5.5 million, this is not an all-inclusive list. This is a list that we can present and not, violate anything that we can't violate as far as negotiations, contract, or having people find out that they might be impacted because of this. There's a process, there's a proper way to go about doing that, and we need to be mindful of that. So reduction of contracted services by $83,000. Outsourcing personnel, non-certificated staff, that would result in $783,000 in savings. There are two retirements, a part-time secretary and a full-time secretary. Those positions will not be replaced. We talked about the shared service agreement. That's $762,000. That would reduce that deficit. And then we're going to be allocating costs to child nutrition, lunch aids, and custodial services during the lunch period to the child nutrition department. And that would result in the general fund saving $403,000. I'm sorry, any questions on that?
After this slide, there might be questions.
Okay, so if the 5.5, almost $5.6 million, that's the starting deficit. We have reductions through, I called it May 19th of 2.5.
March 19th.
Did I say May? I'm trying to fast forward through the trauma. So, yeah. So March 19th, that's 2.5 million. Since last week, we have identified another $600,000 in reductions. Those reductions include reducing archiving expenses, supplies, contracted services, consolidation of software that we use, copier usage. So, as we continue, we are going about this, trying to figure out what we can reduce that has the least amount of impact and make us efficient. So the result is, as of today, we have a deficit of $2.4 million that we still have to close. Any questions?
Just talk.
Just a quick question, can I go back to the retirements, those are two secretaries we have there? And that does not include breakage with our professional staff at all?
No.
That's a separate issue.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not have too many staff members that are retiring overall.
Okay,
Right, so.
okay, thank you.
So we are now going to replace this one part-time, one full-time secretaries. Will the remaining secretaries can handle all the job to make sure, guarantee the operation be on the normal procedure on the normal route?
For now, I'll say yes. Is that optimal? No, but I need to close the budget. And I'm still really trying really hard not to get to programming. But I could say for the next 2 million, I mean, we're ready to the bone. The next 2 million, I'm gonna have to look at personnel of some kind. There's no way I can't cut any more supplies. I just don't have it. I'm gonna still keep looking for things that are overlapping that I didn't get to. But I'm gonna start to look at, everything like classes or courses where we're running with 6 kids, 12 kids. Like I have to start to then balance that out. I'm not saying that every class that's not 26 is gonna get looked at, but I wanna, again, evaluate that and take a look at what kind of savings can I get there. It might not be a reduction of staff per se. It might be, okay, so maybe now I'm saving money in 6 period assignments because now I have, so there's a lot more to get to. I don't wanna speak because I'm not there. Is that good? All right, good. I don't want any emails, please.
Go ahead.
It's fine. No, it's okay. I won't email you. I'll just email Joe. Joe's my BFF. Wouldn't it be responsible when you're in a budget deficit to start removing the programs that don't have higher enrollment in them? I mean, it's not ideal and it's not optimal, but when you're looking at an entire scope, if there are only 8 kids who are interested in a specific course that's offered, always only 8 kids, why wouldn't we consider that something that maybe we could
Okay.
maybe turn into a club or?
So again, even with clubs, it comes with its own things, right? But absolutely, you're right. That's why I brought it up, because I'm looking at it and I want to be fully transparent that I'm looking at it. But when you start to look at our secondary courses, those are the courses, they become more specific, more
Specialized.
specialized, right? That even some of the stations, for instance, like if the stations that is set up for them to do what they need to do because it's that specialized, I only have 8 stations and that's why I have 8 kids. Well, that makes sense. So I have to then evaluate, is there room for me to buy more stations to fit in there so that I can have more kids? And even that, like those types of things is what I'm talking about, right? Then I could do that. But for sure, that's exactly why I'm looking at it. And then, certifications too becomes a huge consideration when we are looking at the secondary. But absolutely, I want to do that. There are a lot of electives. We have a lot of electives. We are funding a whole lot of electives more than we are our core. And while that's good, a variety of it is really good. I'm talking, I think we have upward of 70 electives or more. So, look, everything is up to take a look at.
So for specifically for electives,
Yes.
if, for example, if they're offering, let's say 10 electives, and you're asking students to choose in number order of the elective that you want first to last. If the first 5 electives seem to be the most popular, and those are the ones you see being repeated, wouldn't it be beneficial to offer more of those courses versus the additional 5 that people are just picking because they have to pick an additional?
Yeah, possibly. If you're thinking about Hughes and maybe some Hamishel, but for high school, it doesn't quite operate like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you think about 10, you're going to look at 10 electives per core area, like what are the science electives?
Right,
What are the, so it becomes more. And then some of these things is what makes us competitive, right? Some of these areas makes us competitive.
I love the high school electives. I said that night I want to enroll myself back into the high school.
See?
I
How
want
much
them
do
all.
we love it, though?
I don't know how many kids are signing up. And that's the thing. I know that you said
Yeah.
8 kids fit in there, so that I'm talking more about a class that can fit the full enrollment, and they're only getting 8 interested students.
Yes, yes.
Those are the classes I was talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Anna?
Would you be able to provide that information as to the enrollment? What's the lower end of the enrollment for particular classes, electives we're talking, or even non-electives?
I could, but why?
Well, again,
You're doing that for us, right? To look at. So I don't know if it's. Are you saying, can I show that? I'll publicly pull it out. What? I'm not sure.
So, and
Yeah, go ahead.
uh-oh, I woke him up.
Wow.
Now I'm in trouble.
Um,
I just got 2.
So
right now, on the tentative budget, so let's just assume that you have the 2.4, and that's the deficit. If the taxes are at 6.6, but they're lower, it'll be a greater deficit. You guys are gonna have to make decisions, about programming cuts. What I would suggest is I wouldn't get into the details now, because some of these are very, very specific
Right.
areas, especially
Oh, yeah.
if they're in areas that are not the core subjects. And so I don't want people to be harmed or alarmed that their position's being talked about
Yep.
publicly, because we'd have to rice them and do that.
Exactly.
So I think that's something, that's a coming attraction for you to present to the board in closed session, ricing the employees that could be adversely affected.
Right. So just building on what Antoinette was saying, I know I had asked this question last year, if there's a minimum number of students required to run a class.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I thought it was a good question. I could never get it answered, which is why I'm asking it again.
Because it depends on the course, it depends on the level, it depends on the building. And it
Right.
depends on certifications. Like, it's not a one size fits all, I guess. That's probably why you've not gotten an answer.
Oh, I know why I didn't get an answer, but that wasn't it.
That was the answer, though.
But yeah, I can,
Give you a thumbs up for that.
Sorry.
there are certain state laws that dictate class size. So for
Right.
example, there are certain special ed things. There are, in the lower elementary grades, there's maximums.
That's right.
So it's really more maximums, not minimums, that you'll find in state law. But many districts are looking at this. I mean, I know districts, for example, when you get into it happens a lot in, like, you get into world languages. I'll just give you an example. And you'll have a world language with 4 subjects, and then you have honors and AP. When you start getting into world language 4, honors and AP, very often they start combining those classes into one class where the teacher's kind of teaching the curriculum, but some of it's going to the honors kids, some of it's going to the AP, because there's not enough kids to run it. You might have 9 kids total if you did it separate. And it's just not efficient. So I think that's something you guys are going to have to judge. How do you deliver, quality instruction? And those are things that you're going to, that's why you have a superintendent. Thank God you don't have me making those decisions.
Ditto.
Okay, but did that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just, would like that looked at.
Yeah.
If there are courses that are traditionally very low enrollment for whatever reason. I mean, other than, you can only fit 16 kids in that class because you have 16 stations or something. I would just be curious if there are instances, no matter what level.
I'm looking at that.
If
too.
you could,
I
thank
am.
you. Perfect, thank you.
And because I connected with the board. Yes. And just if I may, Anna, add to that, I think where Anna's question is coming from is, this is a tentative budget, yes, but if we are to not go with such a high tax increase, we want to know at what cost. So what are the things that are, like, it's a balance. So what are the things that we would be giving up? Is it worth it to us as a community?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah. So
I'm telling you right now, if it's more than, if it's, what is it, the number? I know it's like, for every 1% is what, 1.5?
1.5.
And this becomes 3.9, there's no way I'm not cutting personnel. It's just not happening. I can't get to the number. If it's 4%, that's 3 million added on to 2, that's 5 punt. There's nowhere else so it will, but it would be then, what can we as a community bear? What is important to us?
Yeah.
What can we bear to cut or live without? Then we can have the conversations. But definitely, I think once we know and we have a tentative budget, because it's a starting point, I think April 9th, when we're talking to you, we're back here for a board meeting. Is that April 9th?
Yes.
I'll be telling you what the possibilities are, because these are the buckets of money I can get there. And then we start to have the conversation about, well, no, this is important to us. If not this, then what? Yes.
Lori and I were speaking today, and she said something that I thought was really impactful. I'm going to just quote you because I wanted you to say it, but you're not saying it. The community has to understand what is the return on the investment, because obviously we're investing in the children, right? So whether it's athletics, arts, academics, it's what are we willing to do to get it back? But are the families, are the children getting it when we are offering these savings, right? So if you really, I think Joe and I spoke about this during the close, when I figured out that percentage. It's pretty much
Not closed, not closed.
not
It was
close.
small group.
Small groups. Sorry.
Thank you.
They know what I meant.
Matt,
They know what I meant. Have they made it to this part of the meeting?
I have to say.
Matt, she's coming for your job. For households within my tax range, right? It would be sacrificing a fancy cup of coffee a day to be able to continue offering our children what they have right now. For some families, it might be 2 cups of fancy coffee a day. I want us to understand that we want to make sure that we're not burdening the families or the children first before we start doing this.
Yes, ma'am.
And, oh, Jamie, go ahead.
I just have some, like a couple questions. Have we explored AI to be utilized as far as various services that may be non-instruction related? Because in other industries outside of education, we are moving to using virtual technology, not only to replace people, but to consolidate positions and allow our people to work more effectively. I'm not suggesting that this is a now fix, but my first question is that legal to explore that, Matt, to use AI for things like school nature-y stuff? And then number 2, for our administration, is that something we can perhaps look into?
Is it?
We don't have a policy yet.
Is
so-
it legal to it is legal to use AI to try to streamline functionality. I think it's still burgeoning in terms of, in all areas, when you're dealing with, replacing, writing letters and things like that. But there's a cost in it. So you cannot use Chat GPT. That I can assure you. A couple lawyers have used that in the country, and it hasn't worked out well for them.
There are some townships in New Jersey that are actually utilizing AI for various purposes, including checking for student plagiarism. There are
Yep.
current contracts in place, so I was just wondering what our opportunities were with
Yeah,
that.
you have to look into it. There's different forms, but usually to get a closed AI system,
Yeah, a chatbot,
which is
what you're
will-
talking about.
Those are fairly expensive softwares, and as you probably know with software, you can't buy the software anymore. What you do is you buy a license, and it's a reoccurring cost, and it's not inexpensive. I can tell you just from our experience. And the thing is that the one thing that you always have to be mindful of is when you're a people business. I mean, your product is education, and the way you do education is people. You're not producing revenue sources. You're producing highly educated children who will go out and become highly productive adults. But the one thing that folks have to remember is that there are certain aspects of education, supervision. So, AI can't supervise. There's a lot of things that you can't do. Like, for example, every one of your buildings has front office staff. Well, you tell we could get a secretary to do. You can't. That front office staff is basically the safety valve. They're the ones to see who's at the front door, checking in. You guys have those, they call them man traps, but the double doors where they get
Security vestibules.
security vestibules. When I come, they call it the man trap. But so those require human beings to be able to judge that.
Certainly,
You
but
can
then
definitely look at it.
on the flip side, if we look at the district as you know, we know we're excellent. If we look then to fill our deficits with revenue generation, what opportunities do we have to use AI to create proprietary curriculums that we can then sell to other people and maybe make our own literacy programs, for example?
I mean, I think, well, just because I've spent, I did this work in my previous district, and I was the AI person.
I'm so glad I asked this then. Thank you.
We do not have an AI policy yet, but at the next policy meeting, you'll see something there, right? There's definitely room for us to use AI to be more efficient, for sure. And, but there's also the FERPA piece, which is a huge piece, right? So there's the education and professional development of that, making sure that we know. And we need to have a vision statement in terms of what AI is going to do for us. Like, we know AI categorically cannot replace people. We're doubling down on the fact that we're a people business and AI cannot do that. But can AI help us streamline some of our administrative work? And that would be awesome. Can I get someone who can create my own chatbot for me so that I can go on the website and ask questions, and people don't have to look for things anymore. I'm like, I just need this, and my little AI, my bear, can, can really do something for me like that. See, I need to trademark that one. So we do have. Yes, we can do something there. I think definitely there is an opportunity for it, and I cannot wait to dig into that for sure.
Yeah, I also just want to point out that we may be overestimating the benefit that adopting AI will bring to the school district. So number one, and to Matt's point, these AI products are licenses. They're sold on a subscription basis. The business model for that is to crank up the subscription fee as time goes on. And you have two choices at that point: either dump the system and replace it with humans again, or just go along with the increase in with the increase in subscription price. That is the business model, and it's hard to beat that because it's what. Perhaps, but if we're going to do that, then we're going to have to do that completely in-house in order to because anybody outside of our school district is going to use that business model. I don't know of anybody that's going in the right mind that would build something like this and then just sell it as a totally owned software package. That doesn't exist these days.
This sounds like an org chart discussion.
Sure. The second thing, the second thing is I have practical experience with using AI. One, at my job. And my job involves a lot of high-tech, science-y stuff. And I've not been impressed with the ability of AI to streamline my work, for sure. In many ways, I find that it actually makes it more difficult because, for example, if I ask AI to write a first draft of something or other, I wind up spending more time and stressing out more to edit in the editing process to make sure that AI hasn't just made stuff up and stuck it into that 10-page document. It's actually easier for me to just write that first draft myself. Second practical experience, our car is at the Route 1 Hyundai for service. And it's still, yes, we're waiting for a part. And when Mary calls, she has to deal with AI to get to a person. That on average has lasted about 20 to 30 minutes. And she's figured out that the best way of dealing with it is to connect, say what she wants, let the phone sit there for 3 minutes or 4 minutes or so, and then hang up. And then somebody calls us back who's actually not located at the Route 1 Hyundai. They're located at a different place. And then she has a live person. This leaves me with an extremely low level of confidence for AI to handle things in, say, a chatbot situation. And I don't know the last time I've actually used a chatbot on a website and been satisfied with the results. So I just want to temper expectations.
Liwu?
Yes. So I want to go back to I do use AI for my job, but I want to focus on the budget. So I'm serious. I'm kind of very worried. We have 6 point some property tax increase, still have this big hole. So when I reviewed the line by line items, I realized we have many shared surface, but the one line under the reference number M00308886, which is $548,000 for snow and ice removal. Is there any way we can share surface with the township to really save something? At the same time, I realized there are more than 40 copy leasing items, more than 40, which cost us almost $300,000. And certain, in one office, the guidance office, there are 4 leased copiers there. Can we use the technology to get those tools more efficient so we can reduce the number we put under the lease? Additionally, for certain leases labeled with the instrument number, so which means each instrument has a number, but the certain lease agreement without specify the instrument number. So we need to be more constant. For every copy machine, when we lease it, we better have a equipment number on it. So that is one sense. Another sense, and one item for the copy machine, copy lease agreement is just says, in different location of the district. And a certain other lease agreement is and point to which office
Sorry,
it
Liwu,
is.
can you just repeat the last point? The last point before this one.
So I reviewed this line by line. I found more than 40 different copier lease items.
Okay.
More than 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cost almost $300,000. Number one, and for certain lease agreement, it tell you the copier number, the PIN for each copier. And for certain lease agreement, there's no PIN number for that instrument. And two big item is just generally describes that it's located in different location. But most list copier is that, this is in guidance office, in superintendent's office. We know where it is. So my point is, can we use technology to be more efficient so we can reduce the list item to save some money to bring down the deficit? This is my suggestion. So no more shared service, use technology, be more efficient. That could be the way. We have I don't want to cut any stuff. I don't want to cut any program, but that's this two way I can think about it. So please try to explore more shared service opportunities and try to use technology to be more efficient. I remember when I worked with Merck, I got a very nice printer on my desktop. And then company says, okay, let's cut cost. They took away my printer. But that's okay. So I just walk a few steps away, and all scientists share the same printer. It works perfect. So we don't have this kind of luxury at this moment, so everyone got to be do a little bit more. This is my suggestion.
Sorry, Liwu, Joe's going to respond, but what guidance office? Because the guidance office isn't in this building.
Okay, so the item M003140 1003 13008, and another one, all located at the guidance office. This is the line by line items.
But there's different buildings. Or Joe can respond.
No, I'm
but-
not. I'm now trying to say anyone is doing anything wrong. My point is any way we can use technology to make it more efficient?
I got it. So on the shared services with the snow plowing, I think the issue is the township's main responsibility is the public streets. So if we rely on them to snow plow our parking lots, we would be last. A lot of times, and the town does a great job, so I'm not, discounting what they do. But on the majority, over a real length of span of time, our parking lots and sidewalks are ready to go before the township, right? So the volume of roads that the township has to take care of, and, whether it's the county or the state departments, are massive. So if we go into some type of shared service with, the township, the county, or state, we're always gonna be on the back end. All right, so that's an impact. I'm not saying it won't save money or a possibility, but that is something that would have to be, talked about and we would have to understand.
I understand your concern, and we have a new superintendent. I assume we have a better relationship with the township. We can work with the township and to help them or ask them if they can prioritize the school snow plowing. Because the town is running basically by the school schedule. So this thing, I think we can do more job to build better relationship with the township.
And then on the, we'll definitely look into it. I mean, there's no harm in trying to figure out if that would result in savings.
Okay, thank you.
And then on the copiers, I think it's important to note for the public, I believe we have 56 copiers in the district, over 13 buildings. Over time, we have eliminated the DeskJet printers, right? Because they're very costly to operate. The copier leases that you see, each budget manager has a piece of the copier. Take the superintendent's office, right? There's one copier in there in Dr. Madman's budget. There's a piece of that, and then there's a corresponding piece that could be in Tara's budget because she oversees all the copiers. So there's skin in the game for each budget manager to manage their copier, so it's not a runaway train. Over time, I think this is the third lease that I've been involved with, maybe the fourth, we've reduced the copier expense, and we've probably saved well over $1 million during that time. It was probably 3 times the cost it was now when I first took over the copier lease way back when. So we try to manage that, put copiers in strategic locations. Unfortunately, like at the high school, there's department chairs, or we don't have department chairs anymore, supervisors that are needed. The athletic department, where if they had to, every time they printed something, we'd be losing more money in manpower to retrieve that. We do set up where schools have to send over certain things to central duplicating, but it has to be a volume, a certain volume for that. We have a software called PaperCut. It's great, but it's annoying because every time you print, it says, do you really want to print this? Do you want to print it in color? Do you want to print it on 2 pages? And if you got to keep on hitting the button, but it's also a good reminder to be like, do you really want to print this? Like your presentations tonight are not in color, right? Right, and if,
So Joe, I'm
So-
sorry, I'm not saying you are doing wrong. I'm just suggesting we use technology to be more efficient.
Sure.
Because at this moment, we have to think a reasonable, a practical way to reduce the cost to bring the budget to the close.
I think it's important that Joe explains what we've done already. Because when people hear that, it would seem like we're not using technology to be more efficient. Absolutely we are. We had a conversation about the color thing today. I'm like, listen, I have no money. Like, if you stand still, I'm going to get money from you. That's where we are right now. So I just think that it's important for Joe to respond before somebody runs away with that and says, oh, they have copier machines everywhere. You have a copier. Like, that's not what we're doing. So I think that's why he's explaining. He gets that you're not blaming anyone, but I think it's important for us to respond. That's why we're having this conversation in public.
and, I'm not taking it as a blame. I think we should be looking at those things, right? We have an obligation to look at those things and continue to press the envelope, to try to be more efficient, use technology more. Don't print. I would love that, if we were totally, and the board has made a tremendous shift recently, and, thank you, because it's like, okay, just upload it to the file, you have access to it. That takes 2 seconds instead of somebody making copies. We're not all the way there, but we're making strides. So it's that same mindset that we're trying to apply to everything, and hopefully the whole district gets on board with that and we can move forward.
And the money allocated in the budget for the snow removal, that's only if you use them, only if we need to, right? We don't need, we're not gonna have another snowstorm, Joe. I already spoke to God. It's not
So-
happening. It happens every 10
Right.
years. We had ours this year. It's not gonna happen next year.
Right.
But
Right. So last year we were fortunate,
Yeah.
right? 2 years ago, we were really fortunate.
Right.
3 years ago, we had board members saying, don't even budget it because it's never going to snow here.
Right.
This year, not fortunate. We were well over over $300,000 over budget in the snow removal.
So we just have that there as a safety precaution. Let's pretend next year it doesn't snow at all. What happens with that $500,000 that was allocated?
So,
Goes to our savings.
Okay, good.
correct.
Fund balance.
Right. And it will help us in the following year to budget excess fund balance to reduce the tax burden.
Right.
Part of the problem with this budget is we typically budget 4.6 million in that fund balance to offset taxes. We have $110,000.
Right, that was what we discussed.
So, if you look at it from that standpoint, we're budgeting 2.3 because right now we're doing pretty good this year, right? In that budgeted fund balance. If we had the full amount, we would have a balance, and then we could really start talking about the impact of taxes. What do you want to do? If we had the full amount, like no issues, it would set us up better.
Would you be able to clear up for the community? I mean, I know we already discussed it, but why you only have $110,000 left?
So, without getting into the weeds on the calculation, because
Right, just-
it's a pain. The bottom line is, in 2025, there were expenses that came over not over budget, because we were not over budget, but we didn't have any excess. Everything happened bad. So health benefits were $4 million over budget. So that eats up the $4 million. I mean, that's the most simplistic thing you can look at. So and that's the thing we have to be cautious about. You cut everything to the bone. We're a $200 million operation. Some things are going to come in under, and you're going to have a good year, but some things are going to not. So we're a number of kids go out of district, right, that we weren't planning on. We're big enough to say, okay, these accounts came in under, we can sustain these increases. But if you look around the state, there's more and more districts that are saying, we have to cut $4 million right now in this current budget to just survive, right? Because there is no mechanism to take a loan. The state's not giving loans, and you don't want a loan from the state because they give you monitors, and then you guys have no authority, right? So you have to be really mindful that these decisions that we're making today have a long impact, and decisions that were made in recent years are impacting us.
You said what I was just about to say. So we're not doing short-term Band-Aids. We're thinking long-term with this year's budget.
100%.
Because I don't want to be here like this next year. I want to come to you next year and say, remember where we were last year? This is what we got up to. Since then, from May till now, this is what we've done. These are some cost-cutting measures. I want to be able to come to you and say, because you did A, B, C, D, this is what we've been able to do, and this is why we're in a healthier place, or this is why we've been able to save this amount of money, or this is why we've been able to be, at least be financially healthy a little bit. I want to not come with $110,000 fund balance next year. I really don't want to do that. I want to be able to advance teaching and learning, even as we're looking at what this cost-cutting measures are going to be. We have to keep moving forward. There is innovation. We have, I need better rankings for crying out loud. There's work to be done than just balancing. I don't want to say than just balancing the budget because we need to, but we need to be in a place where it's not like, woe is me, I have no money to do anything. There's so much to do to advance teaching and learning and everything that East Brunswick stands for, that we like about East Brunswick, so we can compete in the global, society, economy with changing needs. Our kids are coming to us with different needs. We need to be able to adapt, and be agile enough as an organization to address those needs. That's what I want us to focus on. And you know.
I just want to make certain, like, what I just said is not an indictment on the previous boards or administration. Look, decisions were made based off of what we were dealing with at the time, right? And we don't have a crystal ball for the future, but it's just trying to reinforce that, certain decisions have long-time impact. And if we don't start planning 3-5 year cycles, it tends to catch up. So I just want to clarify.
Thanks, Joe.
You wanna go? I'll be quick. I don't have a ton of, certainly no expertise and not a ton of experience in the whole software space. But I would caution us, and I think the worst thing that we could do in any of our schools for any of our children would be, and I don't think I'm hearing this, I just want to state it, would be to think about replacing a human with some sort of software or robot. Yeah, no, I know, I hear that. So I think that and I'm glad to hear that. I think that that concerns me greatly on every level. And I think that, one of the beautiful things about this community is the relationships that are built in these schools and outside of the academics and the athletics and the arts is the people that are, born from this system and go out into the world to be good people. The only way that we'll continue to accomplish that is by, recruiting and retaining the top talent, the most competent, highly skilled individuals, which I know you are actively pursuing and continue to, and I know we already have so many in this community, which is awesome. But it scares me. It scares me. I think even on my own, on a personal level, I'll just share this real quick. I do a lot of communication in my role, and I started to find myself taking what I wrote and then going over to ChatGPT and saying, make this more professional. And it was good. And now I'm at a point, and this is freaky, where if I don't do it, I'm second guessing myself. That's scary.
It is.
That's a problem. And it's so easy to do it. So I'm worried about it. I mean, I'm the folks up here know a heck of a lot more about it than I do, but there's ways I know that we can continue to tap into it and take advantage of it and utilize it, but not at the expense of any human being. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. So first off, I want to apologize that I wasn't here for a meeting last week, but I did have a commitment with my daughter. But I watched the meeting, and you all did a great job communicating and sharing your thoughts. I want to kind of just focus for a second on what Antoinette said, and as well as Dr. Mammon. But I think the return on investment is really important to me, right? And so I think the clarity that we have here with this year's budget is looking at being deliberate and being data driven, right? And being able to say these are why we're making the decisions that we're making. And we're not making them because they'll help us just this year, but in the future, right? As we go and I'll use the word grow from our student services meeting last week, right? What are our grows and what can we do? And I think the part is when we look at innovation, there are districts that are losing and have lost a lot of money, and they are cutting programs and things that affect students directly. But they also have people who are creative and innovative and are saying okay, we're losing in this area, but how can we write these curriculum, right? Or we know that our community is focused on STEM and STEAM, and so how are we writing these ourselves, and how are we adding new courses? And I think that is what's important, is taking what we have and knowing what's unique and special to us and being able to build on that. And I don't want to say defending, because I don't think that's the right word, but just being able to advocate and say this is why we're making the choices that we're making, and they were made deliberately in that moment. But I also then want to skip to another question. I know that you had put out for your advocacy group, and so I was wondering how many responses did you get?
I think I got 36.
Okay. All right,
Yes, I got
thank you.
36. In fact, Dr. Tanyas and I kind of went over at our last meeting, just going over the applications and looking through them. And I have a date that we'll start to get together, but Dr. Tanyas and I still have to go through what that would look like. And But I'm excited. Beyond that, I think April 9th I'll do an update.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then you have to hear about the strategic planning and how we're learning in that area and what the dates are and
Yeah.
a state of what I heard with the meet and greet. I did promise to share that with the public, so I want to do that. So we have a few things coming up. April 9th, I will share that.
Yeah, I feel like that's like all guiding tools for us, right? Like having our strategic plan and then being true to that year after year in our budget and saying, this is what the community and the board puts as the things that are the most important to us. And so those are the things that we touch last, right? Or maybe we ask, and I feel like this was talked about a little at the last meeting, but what's the parent investment, right? Like what are parents willing to put out when it comes to the things that their children are involved in, as well as looking at the bigger picture of what are we able to do like as a community, but also like knowing that we'll never be able to fundraise or collect enough money to go even touch, right, our deficit. So it's kind of like how do we manage all of those things at the same time while being true to the brand that is East Brunswick, right? And that's the community that's here. And I think that's very important.
Can I just, I'm going to close
sorry.
this one.
Yeah.
So I just want to, because I don't think the public is aware, but, I appreciate the let's look for money in places that we haven't before. I mean, Tara, with the last snowstorm, she was like, oh, I think FEMA can give us, we've never done that before. So those are the types of things that, we appreciate that the administration is doing. I do want to say that AI is a tool, and I think people tend to forget that, but it's a tool. And I actually am now trained in how to identify when somebody has written using AI, and it's actually frustrating. It's so frustrating. And then, final statement, I remember with your interview, and I've shared this a million times before, you said, show me your budget, I'll tell you what you value. And that obviously still resonated with me, and I think, we as a board, that's what we're trying to do here, is what we value is going to be what this budget looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's good.
So this slide, we thought it was important to show the tax history on the last 10 years of increases. So going back to 2018, the increase on the overall taxes, that's the general fund and the debt service, was 1.73%. It was under the 2% cap. And through 2021, it was under the 2% cap. FY 2022 was 2.8%. FY 2023, it actually went down 0.73 because the debt service tax levy decreased. We had bonds that expired. 2024, it was 1.7%. In those years, from 21 to 24, we did have significant increases in state aid, if the community remembers. So that helped keep the tax levy increases down. FY 25, it was 3.76%, 26, 3.65, and then the 6.16 that we're talking about tonight. So the average from FY 2017 through FY 2027 was 1.49% a year tax increase. And if you average it over those 10 years, including FY 27, it comes out to 2.4%. So I think that does show a history of the board, the district being mindful of the tax increases. So that's open for any conversation.
I appreciate you pulling this data, Joe. Do you think, this may be a question you can't answer, but do you think this tracks with most districts our size?
I can answer that question. Unfortunately, I've been in a lot of board meetings the last 2 weeks.
Unfortunately.
What I would say is what you're looking at in the last couple of years and what's proposed here tracks very closely. Some are much even higher in the last couple of years. I mean, this is really an issue that is not unique to one district. It's really systemic throughout New Jersey. And, you know, you have drivers of the health benefits that are going, when you have 30% increases, 20 and 30% increases 2 years in a row, that's one issue. Then the cost of utilities, the cost of gas, all these things are falling on districts and municipalities literally throughout the state. I would say that your tax increases over from 2017 up through 2024 are, these ones are low. I mean, I would say that the most I've seen, you have this one in 2022, 2.8, but I would say that most districts go to the levy. They go to the 2% just to try to, you know, keep up with the cost of, you know, contracts, benefits, all that stuff. What's exacerbated it though this year, and I would say that if you look at districts, I was at a district the other night, very similar size. It was 5.98. I mean, so it's literally, and there's another district that was higher than this. So again, but it's all driven by the same factors that you're experiencing, because you employ lots of people because you're delivering education. And when you have a lot of people, health benefits costs. And when you compare it to, like, for example, a municipality, they don't have nearly the number of employees that a school district does. That's why the budgets, when you look at the pie chart of where do local property taxes go, you know, the tax dollars in your house, you have, you know, usually 20% to the county, 20% to the municipality, 60% to the school district. It's something of that thing. The reason it's 60% is because probably the school district has more employees than both the county and the municipality have together dedicated to the town. So, but I would say overall, you guys are, you know, what you guys have done consistently has been very conservative.
Yeah, I also think it's worth putting, mentioning that the tax increases that we do see up to fiscal year 2024 are actually under inflation year over year over year over year. And it's not until fiscal year 2025 that our tax increase outpaced inflation. But even then, the amount that we were below inflation, especially during the COVID years, far outweighs what we're seeing in terms of running over inflation. And this also may just be a reflection that perhaps our revenue is a lagging indicator compared to the consumer price index.
Thanks. So, well, I wanted to go back. Go back. Karen, can you go back? Yeah, back one. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, sorry, it looks different on here. So I just, for the public to be aware, and I did this with the board when we were in small group, if you want to calculate what your exact tax increase would be, you go on the township website where you pay your taxes, and you take your assessed value, and you're gonna multiply that by 11.822%. And then that number is your total tax. So that's what you pay for municipal, county, school, everything. So you take that number and you multiply it by 62.5%, because that's what goes to the schools. And then you add 6.16%, because that is what your increase would be for the year. So I'm saying this because people have been sharing screenshots with me of conversations that are happening on social media. And there seems to be a divide over, oh, don't get rid of programs, increase taxes. Why can't we increase taxes? And then you have people who are saying, I can't have my taxes increased. I can't even afford to live here. Someone even shared with me a video of a gentleman at a town council meeting saying the same thing. So you've got two schools of thought. I think people really need to make an informed decision when they are letting the board know, because remember, at the end of the day, we're representing all of you. We know what this is going to impact us, and just, you know, make sure that you're doing that calculation and fully understanding what that's going to look like, if that's the direction that the community wants to go in, because this isn't a board decision. Ultimately, we talk to people all day long. This is a decision based on what we hear from you, so keep that in mind. Yeah.
All right, so this screen shows the impact of the tax increase and how we get there. There's two buckets, the general fund, and as a reminder to the public, the general fund is our day-to-day operations. That's where salaries, utilities, benefits, transportation, supplies for the classrooms, for the district come out of. And then you have our debt service. The debt service are the bonds that have been approved through the years, through bond referendum for various projects, like when Hammersholt was done, Central and Lawrenceburg there were additions and renovated. Memorial, when we had the fire a number of years ago. Those are all bonds that are set, right? They're locked in. We don't have a choice. That was approved. That's cemented into the tax levy as we go forward. So a couple things to note on here. You cannot take in the yellow the tax levy increase under general fund of 6.47% and just add it to the negative 2.86% to come up with 6.16. We know that's not the math, right? The 6.16% represents the increase in the taxes divided by the 25-26 tax levy. All right, so you got to take the total. All right, so as you know, people are looking at this. That's a big point of clarification. So it breaks out this slide. You know how much our appropriations are to have a balanced budget, right? Because we've got to close that gap. The state aid, 39 million. And let me read off my slides because need stronger glasses. Fund balance we talked about is right now 2.3 million. We don't have anything for capital reserve withdrawal. Other sources, 7.1 million. That's interest on investment. The fees for clubs, sports, transfers in from the enterprise funds. That's a catch-all. All right. So we add that up. And, we figure out what is the increase needed to balance. So that increase for the general fund is $9.7 million. The debt service is going down 145,000, so that comes out, when you do the math, to 6.16% increase. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
If the taxes go up this year, does that solve the problem? Since we're talking about sustainability over, I hope everywhere usually has a 5-year plan. That's a term in my industry. I don't know does it solve our problem?
I think that the one thing, so it will help your problem, but you're not going to. I think that one of the biggest drivers, it's probably the sole biggest driver, is your health benefits. That is going to take legislative change. It's my understanding that the legislature is actively looking at this because you have to understand, although you guys are not in the state health benefits plan, you're in a school district that is modeled after the state health benefits plan. So you have a level of benefits that's modeled after the school employee health benefit plan or closely aligned to it. And the state has the state health benefits plans for police officers, people that work in the state government, judiciary. They're experiencing the same thing. So there's got to be a legislative change that is, and I know it's being worked on as we speak in the Senate and Assembly. Governor Sherrill has given a directive to get this done, to work on it to reduce it because it's not sustainable. It's gonna be a combination of state action and local action to get this under control. As you know, Governor Sherrill also put out, a moratorium on raising utility bills because that's another problem that is totally out of your control. I mean, you have no say in it. The Board of Public Utilities sets the rates. So these are things that finding efficiencies definitely helps, and I think this would definitely relieve some of the pressure. I can tell you that the district I was at on Monday evening their tax increase was still high because of the health benefits, but what you did last year and what they did very significant last year was significant cuts, significant. I mean, there was over 30 teaching staff members that were separated, and they still had a 5.9% increase because of health benefits. So, you can't keep doing this over and over and over again. And I think this is every district in the state. It's not just here.
But we will have to do this over and over.
If the health benefits is not addressed, you will.
Right. I think a major issue is how school districts are funded. So we have the state aid component, and I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining the formula and that there is no way to plan, right? Because it's just all over the place, the factors and how things change. So you have two other revenue sources to fund your budget: local tax levy and then the miscellaneous. I can tell you the amount of money we bring in from the enterprise funds it's more than other districts, significantly more. We I think we do a really good job of maximizing that and bringing over what we can. So the burden again and again falls on the tax levy to residents. Until that changes, and not every state does that, right? Not a lot of states do not follow this type of school funding. Until that changes, this will be an ongoing problem, because if you're only allowed to go up 2%, and we know things are going up, 2% for us is $3 million. Our health benefits went up 8. Like how does that work? And so you're into this position of, okay, take advantage of every adjustment that you can and put the burden on the taxpayers, or cut. Those are like every year, and there are years, even though our tax levy increases were small, we made cuts, even though it was 2.8% or 1.7%, there were still cuts. So this is a difficult thing, and it's a recurring thing. It's very frustrating, but I don't want to say yes, whatever we do this year solves next year, because experience tells me it doesn't. And it's just a recurring nightmare.
Yeah.
So just so the community is aware, that may mean that we will have to have another tax increase next year until health benefits are fixed. Is that
I think it's more than just health benefits. I think it's the whole system, because supplies go up every year. There is inflation. There is multiple components of our budget that increase. The special ed, there are costs that we can't contain, and we're at the mercy of private schools that don't have any caps. So.
Lori?
Joe, can you just describe or help the public understand what our enterprise fund is? Because I think that's kind of unique to us and a revenue source, and what's like under. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not unique.
But we have the ability, like some schools use like after school outsource, like Champions or YMCA, but we have ours, and there's like a 50-50 split, but we have ours in-house, kind of.
Yes, but your enterprise account also looks at all the areas that the places where, like the jam pack.
Right.
Like, so it's just whatever you're doing to bring in revenue, under the enterprise, that's what we're saying. What we're saying is that yes, East Brunswick does make a lot more money than, others, but.
Yeah, we have
So, we have the facilities rental, which is mainly the JM PAC, community programs, which is Early Learning Academy, the early morning program, after school, kids, it's called, enrichment programs are all bundled into that. Child nutrition, but we can't take profit and move it over, but we can charge things, right? And that's what we're gonna be more aggressive doing. So, we have the device coverage, that is an enterprise. Those are the main ones. And like you said, there are certain communities where that is outsourced. There are certain communities, depending on they might be receiving federal or state assistance to run those programs depending on their population. We maximize it. With community programs, I know we're always checking, okay, increase the fee, but we're still very competitive, if not under what the private programs are doing. So it's finding that balance, but also have a great program, meet a need, turn a profit, in that order, right? Like, it's not turn a profit, have a great, it's those things, and then turn a profit. And we've been very successful. And there's a lot of people that go into that, and there's a lot of support by the administration and board that allow us to do that.
I just want to say, Joe, that I completely agree with your assessment. This is something that we talked about last time, that the root causes of our budget shortfalls are the health benefits, the runaway costs in healthcare. We don't have control over that. Costs for energy and transportation, we don't have control over that. The charter schools, we don't have control over that. And not being funded fairly for the work that we do for our special education population. And I completely agree. We can come up with brilliant ideas and get ourselves over the remaining 2.4 million that we're looking for. And next year, if health costs go up another 8 million, we have to do it again.
Don't do that.
I know. Again,
That's a reality.
again, I think it's important. It's necessary to have a realistic view of what's going on here. And this is a basic principle. These are the root causes of our budget issues. And if you don't address those root causes, it's going to keep happening year over year over year over year. And that's our future. The only difference between this year and next year is we've already made a bunch of cuts through good hard look at finding efficiencies. But we can't efficiency our way out of this thing.
Yes, that is true. We cannot, I wish we could, but we can't. But and this needs to be an ongoing thing, which is what I said earlier in terms of, it wouldn't end in May. Our goal is to continue to see how can we advance teaching and learning while we're also looking at things that overlap. So what I'm saying that what we have to do in-house, we're gonna continue to do, right? There are things that happen we have no control over, but what we do have control over, we will continue to do that. That is our focus, and that's our commitment to the community to keep to do that. I mean, the fact that we found what we found, we've been able to do in such so short a time, makes me think that would I find more? I don't know, because I've already it's close to the bone. But we will keep doing the work. We'll keep doing the work. And I wanted to ask, you said something in passing. What does return on investment look like? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. I think that when I look at it, I think return of investment means providing like a solid foundation and education for a child based in curriculum and providing opportunities that continue with them after leaving our high school, whether that be whatever course they decide to take, working, going to college, a 4-year, a 2-year, right? Helping to shape them as a person, and having social emotional learning available, and just treating, being able to have a sustainable culture in our schools that treats everybody with kindness. And I think for me, like as a parent, I do what I can, right, at home and in the community, and I try to model that for my child. And I just think like the same thing here, right? Like a solid curriculum, right? Keeping up with as well as best as we can. And that doesn't always look financially like having the best financially, right? Like we cannot always have the top technology or the top equipment, right? We have to learn to pivot and still be successful, right? And how do we manage those day-to-day things and day-to-day interactions? Because sometimes even with, I don't want to say the worst facilities, because I know you had your meet and greet at the high school and the ceiling's like leaking in the hallway. But sometimes it's like, how do you ensure a good school day continues when our kids are learning in that environment, right? And my daughter still comes home happy. So, and they see it as, Yeah, right? And to us, like, as, you know, we are like, oh, you know, like, it kills you. And, but you know that your child is going to become a successful model in society, whatever that looks like, whatever your child chooses. And I think for me, like, that's what is important. I don't know, I'm sure people could add,
Thank
but
you.
that's just, you're welcome.
You also said return on investment, so I
Right.
wanted to know what
So-
that looks like for you.
As a mom or as a board member? Because I can say it two different ways. I don't know which one you
You're a
want.
mom first.
Okay, so let me tell you as a mom. So as a mom, I have two different kind of students in my house. I have the student who cannot have a good day if she gets a 98. She has to have 100, right? And then I have a son who, no matter what he does, he has to work 3 times harder in his classroom to get the grades he gets. He gets good grades, but he has to work 3 times harder. And sometimes he's not getting the support he needs because the classrooms are too full and the teachers are spread thin. And you have new teachers who don't know the protocols on how to address a student with a 504 or an IEP because they're new to the school because we cut the good ones. And now, not saying that these are not the good ones, but I'm just saying these are not seasoned teachers with children who have learning difficulties. And as a mom, I'm okay not having I don't drink coffee, but I'm okay not having my vacations every year because I put my kids in the sports that they want to be in. That's my sacrifice. If I have to sacrifice Ariel getting a refresher from Starbucks every day so that when they go to school, they're getting the education that I moved here for, because I didn't move here. I didn't choose East Brunswick because there was the best house. I chose East Brunswick because I did my research about on the schools. And that's why I came here. And I loved the diverse community because I came from Brooklyn, and in Brooklyn, everyone's everywhere. And I didn't want my kids to just be exposed to one type of a community. I wanted them to have the diversity. And for my son, sports is incredibly important for him, especially for his self-esteem, for the sense of community. He looks up to his coaches for leadership. What he wants to do for his teammates prepares him to be a better student in his classroom. And I'm at year 9, and I have not had that experience for my son, which was one of the reasons why I decided to run for the board. My daughter was a sacrifice of Envision. Thank God this year she has an amazing math teacher, I love her, if you're listening, who's given her that self-esteem back, because she has the capacity to do Envision math. She just lost that self-esteem from the way it was rolled out to her. So the teachers like her, I'm not gonna say her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but the teachers like her are the teachers that I don't care how much I have to pay to keep her here, or keep, all the teachers that are doing that type of work, because that's the investment that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in raising taxes, raising fees, and then I'm getting mediocrity. That's not what I signed up for. So if we're going to get excellence, which is what we got it written all over the place, I'm okay with that. But so for me, if we're going to say we have excellence for over 100 years, it needs to continue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry to my children.
Yeah.
Thank God they don't watch these.
I actually have another question, because there seems to be a perception that if we don't increase the tax levy, the state sees that as, oh, they don't need the money, so they actually cut state aid. Is that true?
We can't say one way or the other, can we?
Not?
If you don't increase the levy, when they do the state aid formula, they look at your property values,
Yeah.
the income levels, and one of the issues that they do look at is they basically say, is your local taxpayers paying their fair share? That's what it is. So, I can tell you that districts, and you've read about them, there's a couple, one of them just a little south of here, you got to go over the Driscoll Bridge, won't mention the name, they were not raising the levy for years. And last year, state said, you're going to raise, it happened in 2 places, they raised the levy by like a huge 10% increases. And the same district this year has got the same problem all over again because of the health benefits, et cetera. So I can't say for sure, but if you're not, if the state, when they come up with the state formula, if they look and see that you're not raising the taxes like you should have or can, that does impact state aid or can impact state aid. So I don't think that that's happened here yet. You have, because you guys have raised every year. You've raised taxes, I think, except for 1 year over the last decade. But I think that can be a factor into it because they do look at the local share. What can you pay? When I say you, what can East Brunswick taxpayers afford? And are you making them pay their fair share towards the overall cost?
Okay. And on the flip side of that, if we do increase, we get the tax levy incentive aid.
There's no incentive aid this year. Last year there was that.
It's a one-time, no, 2 years too.
The year before it was
done.
a stabilization aid. This past year was the tax levy incentive aid, which allowed us to make an application to the state to say, here's our cuts. The state came back and said, this qualifies, this doesn't. And a piece of that was state funded. The vast majority was taxpayer funded. I think rough numbers, if it was $500,000 of increased tax levy, we got like 20 grand from the state. So it was not proportionate.
Okay.
All right. But that is not available this year.
Okay.
All right, so I know the tax levy is important and there's an impact. So just for reference, I think as we stated earlier, 1% tax increase equates to 1.5 million in revenue to the district. So we're currently at 6.16%. That equates to 9.5 million. And we have a corresponding deficit as of today of 2.4 million. If you were to reduce that to 5.16%, our deficit would increase to 3.9 million. So the chart is there. If we go all the way down to the 2%, we're looking at, a deficit of 8.6 million. And again, that's net. That's already after we've found 3 million to close at the original 5.5 million that we were looking at. So we're trying to give some perspective of, if we decrease the tax increase, what's the dollar amount? Sometimes it's easy to say, 6.16%. What does that really mean? All right, so we equated it to dollars for reference.
No questions.
All right, next slide. So this slide talks about the impact to the homeowner. The average assessed value in East Brunswick is $132,000. That means of the current school tax bill, $10,405 is related to the school tax. With an increase of 6.16%, your school taxes would increase annually by $641 and monthly $53.42. So that is an approximate. Okay, the assumption most towns each year the pool of assessed value as things come online, new construction increases. So I would hope come August when the new tax bills, whatever we land on, somebody doesn't come back and say, well, my value was 132 and it went up $54, not 53. It's an approximate. It's a point of reference. All right. So, yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
That's my world. Laughing and crying at the same time. Trust me, it's a possibility. Living proof. So, any questions on this slide?
Jamie?
So just to clarify, so one household at an assessed value of 130,000 has the tax bill of approximately 10,400 to educate any children in that household, basically
Yes.
is their contribution annually. Is every single charter school that we send our children to above this dollar amount?
Yes,
And if there were 3 children in a household who all went to a charter school, we would pay the full amount of that charter school's amount per child.
yes.
And we have such an exceptional system here that produced the lovely Dr. Tanyas, class of 2001, holler.
And Dr. Falco, class of 2000.
Oh, yeah, no. I was busy
And
playing
Dr.
soccer.
Braun.
I wasn't achieving like you were. But yeah, I had soccer. Hey, I still have my 1996 GMC champion sweatshirt. I do wear that around town. I also have my Lady Bears, like 1998, like paw print sleeve soccer shirt. A couple softball shorts floating around too. But you know, we talked about value and the memories, the friendships, the value of the education and just the talent that this district has, longstanding talent that really helped me to be who I am today. I see so much value in a public school education. I mean, again, I've said it before, I could live anywhere. I am blessed that if I went and I wanted to practice behavioral optometry anywhere in the country, it's so niche, I could do it. But I'm here in this town because I believe in our schools. And I really hope that if there are parents watching this meeting and, you know, you've thought about our public school system or you have questions, ask about them. You know, we'd love to have you back if you're open to it because we're working hard to make sure that all of these programs are available for your kids.
Thanks, Jamie. Anybody else? Questions on this?
All right, so, last slide. Key dates moving forward, we have board meetings April 9th and 23rd, where we will continue to have open conversation. We are pulling additional information to present and to discuss. Just a reminder, our public hearing and final adoption is May 7th. We have to know where we are after the April 23rd meeting. We cannot go into the May 7th meeting with additional changes, all right? So that's not an East Brunswick thing, that's a state thing. So a lot of work to be done, work that will be done, and that we'll regroup and present to the board and to the public.
Any final questions or thoughts? Wilbur? Liwu?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I think if we have this more than 6% property tax increase, what we're doing is trying to keep the boat floating. We're not solving the long-term problem unless the state changes the funding formula, unless the state changes the special education funding formula, unless the state changes their health care benefit, I believe will come back again every year. So this is the fundamental cause of the problem. And no matter what we do, I believe we already push the efficiency very, very high. Even I'm asking them to do it, Joe to do it, but I believe our efficiency is very high, and our teachers is already very thin. For the last 2 years, we did cut some positions. So I think that we need to, if we really want to change the situation, we have to do something in Trenton. This needs entire community's effort. Without any change from the top, this thing will come back again. I strongly believe inflation will be here forever, and we already paying too much. When any increase property tax, every resident will feel the pain. But the only change, the only hope is someone can change in Trenton. That is my thought.
Thank you, Liwu. Wilbur? Jamie?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of Antoinette's mention of excellence in education, because I remember when I was running, I sat down and tried to write what my mission statement was, and excellence in education was the first thing that I came up with. I know everybody that like all the Meet the Candidate events, that's what person after person after person said was the goal: excellence in education. No one said, I want to spend as little money as possible. And I'm going to get in trouble for this analogy, but I think it does bear worth mentioning. Because the education thing is a thing that we value. It's what brought us, all of us, to East Brunswick, including my family. I have a story about trying to convince our real estate agent to show us homes in East Brunswick, and he told us not to because my commute would be too bad into New Brunswick. I don't know why, but that's so. So we went around him. And as Dr. Mammon has said, you show me your budget, we'll show you what we value. And the value thing for me is a really important word that Jamie mentioned that as well. A lot of people talk about cost, and the cost is wrapped up in the value judgment, right? But the cost is not the number one priority in making that judgment. What that judgment involves is taking a look at what we get for the money that we're spending on our kids. And I think that's a really important way to think about the decisions that we have to make. Because, I'm not telling anybody how to think, there could be people out there that just really don't want to spend any money, any additional money in the school district. And that's fine. You can make that choice. I'm not saying, and people may have reasons for making that choice. It's not my choice, but I understand different people have different thoughts. But the fact is that, as we've talked about, costs for things keep rising year over year over year. I just went to my favorite sub sandwich place for lunch today. They changed the menu. My cost for my sandwich went up 10%. So there's that. Still a very good sandwich. I will still keep going there. Because food drives all of my decision making. But where I'm going with this is that if the goal is to spend as little money as possible, eventually something is going to break. Right. An example we can take a look at that everybody in East Brunswick is familiar with. If the goal is to not spend more money on road repairs and the cost of road repairs keeps going up year over year over year, you can see what happens to the roads over time. And that's not the thing that I want to have happen to the school district. So, so we should keep that in mind. That value word, I think, is like super important. And it doesn't ignore the cost. It just sets what the priorities should be.
Thanks, Wilbur. Okay, Antoinette?
When I was running, one of the major talking points for me was the taxes, because I need to know if it's going to be sustainable in the long run. I don't want to be part of a board that's going to gentrify East Brunswick either. I don't want to be part of a board that's going to say, you can only go to this school if you can afford to live here. And you can only afford to live here if you're okay with raising the taxes. And I think it's important, especially for tonight's meeting, that everybody who's listening at some point, hopefully they're watching it and get into this part, but understand that we're not just raising taxes because it's the only solution. We're raising taxes because we have to preserve what we already have. And we are sending a lot of money to charter schools without, it's out of our control. But there's also a lot of pizzerias and your sub place. There's people go to the place that they feel they're getting their return on investment. So it would be great if our schools did represent arts and excellence and academics and excellence and athletics and excellence, because it will invite those parents to come back here. This will become the school that it was before. It is not the school it was before. Everybody knows that. We haven't been Blue Ribbon a very long time. I don't even know if you can still become a Blue Ribbon school. Can you? No. I know some people are boasting about their being Blue Ribbon schools, but I would like us to get to the point where people are proud to say, my kid goes to East Brunswick schools. So again, I don't take it lightly, especially for my seniors, if you're listening, because I did talk about this with Joe. There are programs for them. Can you talk about that a little bit, or no? Sorry, Joe.
It's all through the state and the municipality. If you're a senior, you're disabled, veteran, I recommend that if you haven't, you go over to the municipal building to I believe it's the tax assessor.
Assessor.
And there's forms, sometimes you can do it online, but you still have to go and drop off the paperwork and it freezes your taxes. There might be some rebates that, there's various programs, so it takes a little bit of work. I'm familiar with it because I did it for my dad recently, not in East Brunswick, but, so it's standard throughout the state. So it just requires a little bit of research and poking around, but there's options.
Thank you.
Oh, lots of hands. Anna and then Lori.
Okay.
I think it's also important to remember over the past 2 years, the last two budget seasons, we already had cuts in 2025 of 6.4 million, right? That included not only, teachers, support operations, cuts to professional development, all different things. We had the same thing in the 2026 budget reduction. It was 6.339. We already cut a lot. If you go back even further, East Brunswick once had a fantastic elementary foreign language program. I don't know how many of you remember that. It was excellent. And guess what? It's gone. You know why it's gone? Because we had to take that money that we were spending on our in-house elementary foreign language program, and we gave that money to Hatigva. And I remember going to the fair and seeing a Hatigva table, and I almost jumped over the table to rip down their poster. Because they advertised as, we're the only elementary school in town that has a foreign language program. Yeah, because you took the money from us. So I'm just saying, once these things go, they don't come back. Last year, we had a 25% reduction for elementary kids in their specials, which included art, music, PE, and library. That reduction, that's never coming back once these things go. We've already cut in the last two budget seasons 95.5 staff, including 68.5 teacher positions. And of course, when you're cutting teacher positions, what does that mean? That means larger class sizes. And I know, Lee Wu, you asked, we have a secretary and a half retiring. We're not going to replace them. Are we going to still have the same services, even though we have less staff? Well, I mean, come on. You can only get so much blood from a stone. You have less people working, and the work that these people were doing was really important to our district. We weren't just paying people because it was, fun, because we were saying, raise my taxes, please. No, of course not. These people were providing an important service, and we cut them, 95.5. And I don't know what that's going to shake out to this year. How many more staff are we going to be losing? So I think it's important for the community to realize we're already starting at a lower point than we were. We do not have what we used to have. Okay? Yeah. All right, lecture over. I'll jump off my soapbox.
Lori, just before, to your point, I think what this is reflective of is no matter how many cuts we make, it's just a matter of time before the taxes need to go up, because there's only so much you can cut before the state, says there's nothing more we can do for you.
We can't efficiency our way out.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of time. We just keep buying year after year, and I think that's what Dr. Mammon was saying, is this isn't sustainable. 'Cause
No.
we're just, but that has been in response to the community, because nobody wants their taxes to
No.
go up, myself included. And by the way, like, that assessed value, I pay $22,000 in taxes right now, so I don't even want to know. I mean, I know what it could look like, so I get it, but that has been because of a community response. I don't think anybody, and I don't want to speak for the past administration because I wasn't even here, but I don't think anybody wanted to cut staff, right? It's just been, yeah. And you're right. And everybody knows how I feel about class size. I will never vote on a class size policy over 25, ever, just so we're clear. Yeah.
Has a cost to
Yeah, well, I'm just,
tell me so I can hire some more teachers.
yeah, that's fine by me. It will never be more, that's my vote. I'm one of 9, but that will
Okay.
always be my vote, just so we're all
that.
clear. Sorry, go ahead.
But if we understand the value of
If you
having
have
a
value.
little,
Your
yeah,
return on investment.
and return on
Yeah.
investment,
Yeah.
yep. Mhm.
Can I hire them? Can I hire teachers?
Sorry, go ahead, Lori.
I certainly didn't mean for my ROI to become a return on investment.
Take the credit.
But it's actually what I was actually going to comment on. But you're a tough act to follow. But I felt like I felt like in thinking about it, like return on investment, I'm like thinking about like, oh, when treating my kid or other kids as like a robot, and so or like some math equation, right? And that's not like the thought that I.
What we got.
Right.
That's why
Okay.
I wanted-
Yeah.
That's not it at all. That's why intentionally said, what does that look like to you? What do you mean?
I feel like as a board member and somebody in the community, there's nothing, and I know, look, we've all been at things together, right? Like we run into each other at community things, basketball games, right? Like I'm just thinking of the most recent stuff, like community events. There's nothing that makes me more proud of our schools and kids that aren't my kid necessarily, but I think all of them are my kid, right? Like to see them win or lose, right? To put everything they have into it, to be proud of the club and the things that they're doing, that they come here and talk about in their elementary schools. To me, that is the biggest like return on investment. They're not like, it's not like some robotic system that I'm thinking of in my head or trying to treat them like a math equation. But there's nothing to be more prouder of than people and our kids who are proud of themselves for arts, for academics. If there's students who naturally excel to special education students that are finding their ways, right, when they transition out of school and what that looks like for them. And I'll say average, but I don't think it's like the middle student, right? The ones that we talk about all the time is how do we encourage their growth? And I think those are all the things that we want here in our town and that we're proud of. And that is what I like, so it's not like little robotic kids running around our schools, right? It's a feeling. And I know we get it because when we're there, like you feel it, but it's what it is, and that's what I want to preserve, right? Like those opportunities. Yeah. Like that is to me like preservation.
Agreed.
Let me just say one
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So,
please.
there's so much to take in. Obviously, it's just such a tall order, right? Like it is what it is. It looks grim. It looked grim 2 years ago. It looked grim a year ago. It feels grim now. And so it's unfortunate. I guess, a couple things on my mind. I think one question I have for the experts in the room is, drastic times call for drastic measures. And if this is going to stay this way, are there any trends in the world of academia that you foresee coming down the pipeline that may allow us to continue to meet the goals that we're looking to meet, but do it in a little bit of a different way? Are people talking about this stuff? And I don't even know, I'm not in this space, so I don't know. But is there a new way of educating, a new way of growing and building and allowing children to thrive in these environments, but doing it a little bit differently? Because if the state never changes, if these laws never change, which is a sad and unfortunate potential reality, something drastic has to change. And I'm just curious what you all think of that.
For sure. It's all we talk about. It really is all we talk about. And I'm really excited because, sometimes when you have challenging times, it's kind of like the phoenix rising from the ash. It forces you to do things differently. So a few things we've been talking about is how we do school. Right? School still really looks like what school looked like a long time ago. Meanwhile, our kids are not that at all, right? So, a lot of what does high school look like? Independent study look like? Not VOTEC, but really structured learning experiences is what we're calling them. What can we do in terms of creating atmospheres and schedules that are flexible where kids can work and come to school and do some learning and they're that, but you have to have a system that allows that to happen. And so that means we can't keep, right now we have, for instance, I know Dr. Boley and I have been talking about, we've had 120 credits, for instance. It's what the state says. We have 140 and expose our kids to 160 credits. I do not know how that's healthy when we talk about and worry about mental health. I just don't know, right? So we're taking a look at those types of things. And how are our courses? What matters to Gen Alpha and Gen Beta, And I'm really excited. They know, our students know a whole lot more than we give them credit for. I get to spend time tomorrow with some high schoolers, so I'm really excited about that. They tell me all the things so there is definitely talk, but one has to be, I don't want to say brave enough, courageous enough to step out of what the machine is and say, this is what we want to do. Can we just at least take a look at this pocket of kids who want this and program for them? And what does that look like? So there is a lot of talk, and we have a lot of opportunities here. I don't see it as doom and gloom. Yeah, insurance going to go up and all of that stuff. I really believe we can come out of this and do better in spite of the things we can't control. Yeah.
That was an awesome answer, and I really appreciate that. I didn't set you up for that either. Yeah. Yeah. No, that was awesome. And that is why I know myself and the rest of the team up here are so excited to have you at the helm.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just have to say, I think I've probably been here in East Brunswick the least amount of time. I've only been in the community for about 5 years. And I just want to confirm and reaffirm, we love being here. This is an incredible place. Even with everything going on right now, even with all these awful cuts that we've had to do, it's an amazing place. We have 3 kids in this district who are so fortunate. So fortunate. It's just it's remarkable what we're doing despite all of the challenges. And it's just a testament to from top down and down to the top. Does that make sense?
Bottom up.
Thank you. That's a lot better. It's just an incredible group of people. Thank you. It really is an incredible group of people, and we're just so lucky to be here. And that's the way I feel.
We're happy to have you. Thank you for moving here. Anybody else? So actually, to piggyback off of Tim's question, Matt. Hi, Matt. I put Matt to work for every dollar that he's.
You're earning those dollars.
Yeah. No, to piggyback off Tim's question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but I'm sure the state recognizes that this is a problem across several school districts. At what point are they going to, all school districts, at what point are they going to step in and say, hey, we have to fix something?
I think that Governor Sherrill and the new Commissioner of Education are actually looking at it, because as you know, the teaching that occurs here, they have the state standards that you have to teach, and so they're looking at lots of different things. One thing that they've talked about is we have over 565 school districts. You have K to 5s. K to 8s, K to 6s, and so combining them, making everything K to 12, that will save money. So they're looking at, I think they're looking at it not just fixing health benefits, not just fixing special ed. They have to look at it really holistically, and again, it does have to come down from the state level. But I do know that is absolutely being addressed. But there's lots of stakeholders that they have to work with to come up with a solution. And it's a solution that's going to take, you're not going to get it, it's not going to be done by the end of 2026. This is going to be a solution that's going to take several years to right the ship. And, you know, the one thing, this district has experienced very difficult financial times before. It happened actually in the 2010-11,
Yeah.
and when all of your state aid was cut. I mean, it was drastic. So it's kind of cyclical, but I think that, you know, coming up with efficiencies is good, but it's going to take, when everyone's acknowledged, a lot of things at the state level. And really, the state legislature, on both the Assembly and the Senate and the governor, they all have to do it. And I think that there's now an absolute willingness for them to really look at it, because this isn't sustainable. I just was looking, just online. I just started looking at districts, 4.7, 5.6, 7.8. Every district is raising taxes and cutting. You don't see anyone saying, we're raising taxes, we're not cutting anybody. Or you have ones that are not raising taxes as much, and it's dire cuts. The problem is if you do dire cuts, and this happens again next year, you have nothing left. You have nothing left. You guys are doing very strategic cuts so that you guys can remain an excellent school district and deliver. Because at the end of the day, I hate to like bemoan this, but driving down Route 18, people don't move to East Brunswick for Route 18. I hate to tell you that. It only takes about a half hour to get down it. But people move here for the schools, and frankly, the property values in East Brunswick are directly correlated to the schools. So I think that you guys have been very strategic in the way you make the cuts and do things like that so that you maintain excellent programs. You have great athletics. You have great extracurricular. You have incredible art programs. I mean, you just see the kids when they come here, and I remember a couple years ago they had a quartet of 4 kids coming here. It was like I was at the Metropolitan Opera House. It was incredible. And so I think that being strategic is what you have to keep on doing and pivoting, but not making drastic cuts, because if the state doesn't take action, you're going to be here next year. Hopefully they do take action, and it will ease the burden of what's going on.
I'm just going to jump in on legislation, which is currently advancing, Bill S-1807. I looked it up on AI. And it's talking about pilot programs. And under the current law, towns retain 95% of the funds from the pilot funds, while schools receive nothing. 5% goes to the county. That's the way it is right now. The towns do not have to share the pilot funds that they receive with the school district. Am I right so far?
You are 100% correct. And people should understand, pilots, just so I understand, what is a pilot? Pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. And it's limited to 2 areas, an area in need of redevelopment or rehabilitation. So it's got to be a blighted mall, an old factory. It can't be just, if it's a clean piece of farmland, you can't do a pilot. So in those areas, and it's to encourage developers to come in and redevelop these blighted areas or areas that need to be rehabilitated. But you're 100% right. They cut a deal with the developer. Pilot is less than the ad valorem tax that the properties would be charged. They get it for a period of time. Usually it's usually 20 to 30 years is the pilot. After the pilot expires, then it becomes an ad valorem tax. Like all of you on your houses and your condominium stuff, those are ad valorem taxes, which is based on the tax rate. If you're a pilot, it's not based on the tax rate at all.
Okay, so using that calculation, our schools won't be seeing tax money at the same rate for 30 years, which would mean I'd have to live to be 93 to be able to see the equal taxes coming from those.
Right.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah, I'm not going to make it that long.
I think that the issue becomes that $10 million factory doesn't go on the books. So the taxpayers that are currently paying taxes are not receiving the benefit right? So that 6.16% that we're talking about is not being spread to everybody. It's only being spread to some.
The
Right?
people who are paying,
Yes.
the people who are paying the ad valorem taxes, it's not just people, it's businesses. You have businesses that pay taxes, but if you're a pilot, if you're granted a pilot agreement, you're outside of that base. So it's being spread around the remaining 90%, not the 10% who have pilots, or whoever, whatever the breakup is of pilots in any given community. But you're 100% right, it's 95 to the town, 5% to the county.
Yeah, okay, I see a problem with that. So in other words, now, if this bill goes through, from my understanding is that the state will mandate an amount that would go from pilot money to the schools, to offset schools. But that's not gonna help us because ours are all already done.
The bill that you're talking about is Senator Singleton is the sponsor?
I'm just, I looked it up on
I
AI.
was in Trenton for this bill. I talked about it
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's going nowhere.
Yeah,
It's going nowhere because they're going after pilot money for residential as well as commercial. No one's gonna sign up for that because as much as people understand the impact that pilots have on the schools, commercial has no impact on our schools. The people don't live here, they get in their car, they go home from work. You want commercial pilots because that actually brings revenue to the town. That helps keeps the municipal tax low, which we don't need that going higher. As far as the pilot money for schools, we have a new superintendent who's been doing really well at partnering with the township, and there has been new shared services. And even the mayor yesterday at his breakfast at the Chamber of Commerce was talking about how he wants to do more. You guys were there too. He wants to do more with it without needing a mandate behind it, which I think is impressive. Because when I was in Trenton, there were plenty of districts that were there with stacks like this of petitions of people signing up to force this bill to go through. And I spoke with Singleton after. I said, you're not going to get anything out of this if you continue to keep the commercial inside of it. And he said, I had it with just residential before, and I got more pushback than before. I said, so then why would you add things to it to make it even less appealing? He said, because now I want the pilot money for everybody. But unfortunately, not every district can spare their commercial pilot money. So you're not going to get any municipalities, even though the developers are the one that were really pushing back at that meeting, you're not going to get any municipality behind this bill and say, yeah, no, we want to mandate us. Let me give you 55%. I actually would like to see a bill where they mandate a percentage. Doesn't have to be every student that you put in the school, because what about if somebody moves? Give me 5%. Or tell me you're going to take over the transportation costs. Where are you, Brad?
imagine,
I would like to see that, but you can't count pilot money
No.
that you don't have yet.
That's right.
So until those are finished being built, you're preaching to the choir because there's no money. He hasn't even seen the money, so
Yep,
we're not going to see
but
anything.
yet we still have to educate all the children that are coming from the new developments.
See, the
So-
thing, so this is what I have, so a lot of people say that, and I used to say that too, because I didn't know. But that's like saying everybody who has who was paying property tax, every student in that house is covered. I don't cover my two children. I think Marion only covers one of her two.
cover one
She
kid,
covers
yay.
one. But you have families that have multiple children. We can't tell people, you can only have one kid in the school or you can't come here. So, and I lived in an apartment, so I do take a little offense to that, thinking I don't deserve to be in a school because I didn't pay the property tax. We do get land tax from those areas, which is good. It's better than zero. I always like better than zero, right, Joe? Joe would like more, but there's a lot of houses in the community that have multiple children in the district that, I mean, we have, like Jamie pointed out, we have multiple kids that we're supporting their education in a different school. So right now, I think the focus for the superintendent and the board should be on how we can save what we have without losing any more teachers. And that's important to me.
So my question related to the pilot program, Jill, how many students generated by those programs in East Brunswick? Which we have to educate them, but we don't get tax. How many at this moment.
I mean, I don't know that we don't get tax. Legacy, we have 86. Nine. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a kind of like an estimate, but definitely between 85 and 90 already kids that we bus and transport to our schools.
For legacy only. How about other projects?
What are the other pilots? Liwu, do you
Which other
know?
ones?
Well,
Vanilla.
people should understand pilots, so when you have, and I'll just use an example, let's say that the I think it's called Vermilion,
Vermilla.
that isn't occupied. So pilots don't get, the town doesn't get start collecting money, it's based on the occupancy. So if you have a 50% occupancy, you're not getting the pilot deal, it's based on the rentals that are put. So when you get like a 95, 100% occupancy, then you're getting the full pilot money that's in. If it's unoccupied, it's under construction, you're getting nothing. It's basically a way for a developer to invest in a huge project without paying taxes while they're building it.
One concern I do have with pilots, and this is what I like to see taken care of in Trenton also, is they'll consider the property values. They'll consider the value of those developments in our general assessment. And you shouldn't really be doing that when you're looking at school aid, because we can't have any of that money. So if you're going to start looking at funding formula to be corrected, that's got to be taken out. If you're not allowing me to take any part of that funding, then you shouldn't be considering that in the value of our district, because I think last year that put us over $1 billion when they considered it, and those weren't even, they're still vacant. So I mean, that would be what, if we're going to focus on when we go to Trenton with the advocacy group, we really need to let them know you can't consider these pilots when you're considering the wealth of our town, because they're not giving us anything.
And just one other thing, just to think about pilots, because I represent lots of municipal entities too. At the end of the day, you own a house in East Brunswick. You're paying taxes to the town and taxes to the school district. So it's all coming, the money is all coming from the same person. So if the pilot helps reduces the municipal tax, but the school tax a little bit higher, it's all really a wash, because it's all coming from the same funding mechanism, you guys. So, if your municipal taxes are lower because of pilots, that's still a benefit to the taxpayers of East Brunswick. And so pilots, they serve a purpose, and ultimately it's harder for a school district when you're looking at a silo, but the taxpayers overall, they are beneficial to the town, because generally, you're saving 15% that you're not saying to the county, or whatever, 17%. It's staying within the confines of your thing. And so, I mean, you guys are I don't know how many municipalities have an ice skating rink. Not a lot of them, but those are things that happen because you're able to leverage the pilot money to benefit the residents of the town, parks, recreational programs, etc. And I think the one thing that your town does that's super unique, it's one of the most unique things, I haven't seen another school district do it. The shared services that you guys have on debt is one of the most unique things ever. And what people don't realize is that by coupling with the municipality's debt, the municipality is AAA rated. If you guys went out and tried to do your own debt, you wouldn't get anywhere near that. So,
We're double it. So it's not like we're that far behind.
yeah, but their body capacity. But it's very unique that you guys have that relationship. And it does save the taxpayer. So you guys are working as a team to lower the taxpayers' funds. So I think that growing that, to me, one of the best things that the superintendent and his board is doing is you're really embracing, like, how do you work with the town to benefit the taxpayer?
Right, and the whole reason I brought this up is because, I'm thrilled that my municipal taxes are staying, level, but, people are gonna be freaking out, and rightly so. Oh my gosh, my school taxes are going up so high. There's a lot that goes into that, and no, I don't have kids anymore in the district. And, my grandparents started paying taxes in 1948. And my parents paid taxes, and now I've paid taxes. And so, we have to be looking ahead also, not just what's behind. But anyway, that's it.
Thanks, Anna. Anybody else? Okay, all right. So we are moving on to the for the good of the cause for the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. Public participation shall be permitted only as indicated on the order of business and board bylaw number 0164 and shall be governed by the rules outlined in the agenda. Every participant is limited to 3 minutes. If you would like to address the board, please go to the podium and state your name and address. Is there anybody who would like to address the board?
Let me bring a timer. I probably won't speak.
Oh, Joe will time you.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Alexandra Patel. I'm sorry, you said
Your
address,
address, yeah.
15 Pawnee Road. I just want to say I came in a little late. I actually had the wrong time for the meeting. But I think what we're doing here versus what we did last year, very good. I was able to kind of like peruse through the budget and really saw the different breakdowns of like where everything is. Unfortunately, I missed kind of all the cuts that you've already made, so I'll watch the video later. But I think a lot of what you guys said tonight really resonated with why I came to the meeting and will be showing up at these other dates. Is the excellence is what we're looking for, that return on investment, is we get what we pay for. We're gonna have to pay more. We wanna see what we're getting for. So very interested in hearing the strategic plan and where we're going through with that. I think the structural deficits that we have, healthcare, those things aren't going to go away. There's nothing we can do. Unfortunately, the pilots, I thought that was really great for you to bring up because, yeah, Vermilla's, what if Vermilla brings in 1,000 kids that then all decide they're going to go to charter school? Yes, maybe our taxes stay the same, but but the cost that we now have to pay is going to make our taxes go up. So yes, maybe as a taxpayer, but not as trying to fix the budget. But what I do want to say is that when I came in when you guys were talking about the AI and the efficiencies, I come from a job and a background where there is efficiencies and processes, and hopefully you can find some of these in the contracts that we've made. There's year over year, there's definite efficiencies there. I think the AI thing, everybody's going to have a different opinion about AI, but I think there are solutions in the right levels of services and areas that AI can be super beneficial. Yes, there's licenses and you got to think about that, but in terms of you have a teacher who's making a lesson plan, she should be encouraged to see what she can use with AI because she's got 24 hours in a day. If she can now do 24 hours in maybe 16, that gives her or him more time to dedicate. Return on investment, you pay 2 teachers the same salary, someone's going to go above and beyond, someone does what they need to get by, to get their paycheck. There is return on investment that we can, I think, find, but if we're creating the environment for our teachers to kind of bring their best, I think, and the students to bring their best, I think that's really where we want to go. So I don't have any specifics because, again, I don't want to regurgitate anything you might have said, but I am very encouraged to see where we're going. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Is there anybody else wishing to address the board? Going once? This is my favorite part. Going once? Oh, okay.
Almost. So close. Hello.
Hi.
Robert Stewart, 5 Stratford. I just want to piggyback on that. I think it's a great idea to look into AI. That's all.
Okay.
Don't dismiss it. Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, I hope nobody thought I was dismissing it. I was saying it's a tool. It shouldn't replace people. But I love what you said, Alexandra, that it's, if we can make a teacher's day easier by using it as a tool, then why not? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now my favorite part, going once, going twice. Okay, okay. Public comment is closed. You're supposed to use this to like call people to order, but we're so civil that I never get to use it.
You can do the law and order tap.
Okay, we are moving on to the only item on our agenda, which is business and support operations, item 1, the school district tentative budget adoption. Do we have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Jamie and Wilbur, discussion? So what's the plan here? So you're gonna, no, I know the plan is roll call. I meant, this is the tentative budget, we adopt it tonight, and then,
Right. So tentative budget, it's the starting point. We have $2.5 million defined. We will come back with suggestions, and some of that might be dealing with increased revenue that we might be able to bring in, and that will trigger a conversation to close that gap and get rid of those placeholders that we have, because by May 7th, we can't have those placeholders, and we have to be balanced. Well, yes.
he needs first the
Yes,
final
by
adoption.
the final, because we can still discuss it on the 23rd, we just have to know where we're at, all right?
And if right now, are we voting on the 6.16%?
Yes, that is incorporated into the tentative budget.
So is everybody aware of that? Everybody's aware.
And it doesn't make it final.
It does, yeah. I want the community, for those watching at home, this is not final. Yeah, yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, so this is a roll call vote.
Anna Braun,
Yes.
Timothy Cummings,
Yes.
Antonetta Vola,
Yes, for now.
Jamie Falco,
Yes.
Louis Figueroa,
Yes, I'm looking forward to additional information and what your suggestions will be.
Lori Herrick,
Yes.
Lee Woo Hung,
Yes, I need more information, and I want to thank you for the template, but I'm waiting for more information.
Wilbur Pan,
Yes.
Mary Ann Tanios.
Yes, I also additional info, but I want to hear from the community how they feel about the tax. What do you value? What do you value? What do you want this budget to look like? Thank you. Okay. Motion carries. All right, we are on to our last item, committee reports, information items, and for the good of the cause of the board. We will start on that side because did we start with Anna last time?
Yep.
Yeah, so, okay, Antoinette.
I think you guys have heard enough of me today. I'll pass it to Lynn.
I'm good tonight, thank you.
Yeah. Jamie?
The East Brunswick Human Relations Council is going to be looking for student liaisons in grades 9 through 12. More information is to come. We look forward to the opportunity to work with students to help promote diversity, harmony, and embrace our community for how special it is. So, Dr. Mammon, you'll be hearing from us for your approval for any sort of information that we hope to share.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Leroy, you're good? Okay. Yeah. Tim, you're good. Laura, you're good. Anna, you're good. Wilbur?
Yeah. So I wanted to mention the CPAG resource fair at the library that was on Monday night. This was unique because CPAG has done some resource fairs which have been hugely successful, over the past couple of years. But what was unique about this one is this was particularly geared towards the transition process. So what happens when we have our special education students and they finish with high school, and then what happens to them? I actually have a little bit of experience with a similar thing because when I was in practice, we also took care of kids with sickle cell disease. And there's a similar transition process when you get too old to see your pediatric hematologist oncologist, and then you have to go find an adult hematologist oncologist. It doesn't go well. It's really horrible. And it actually impacts these patients in a very significant way because you can actually track, unfortunately, sometimes kids die of sickle cell disease, and you can track what the curve of the kids passing away are. And then when they get to about 18 to 20, that curve jumps down. And then it keeps going down. And the reason it jumps down is because of that lack of transition between the peds world and the adult medicine world. And believe me, we try to get the transition going. So I think, so for me, this was an extremely significant event because this is a very, very key part of the student's journey through life. The place was packed. I know some of us went there. I heard that people heard of this from other school districts, and they made the trip into East Brunswick for this. So just wanted to recognize the great folks at CPAG for the great work that they did. I also dropped in on the Commission on Aging meeting that was happening at the same time. Luckily, I didn't have too far to go to the senior center, but it was good to connect with them. And this is probably not very well known at all, but there's a lot of intersection between the events at the senior center and our schools. We often have kids going out to the senior center for performances of various types. There's a Grand Friend program that exists at Central. It'd be cool if we could, spread that out to other schools as well. But it's a great way to promote intergenerational relationships, which are really important, especially in our country where multi-generational homes are less common than in other parts of the world. And there are definite advantages to having multi-generations in close by, if nothing else. But the other reason I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that is that oftentimes, and I think this is really not a great line of thought overall, but oftentimes there's a thought that the seniors should not have to pay for the schools via tax support because what are they getting out of it? And what I think here again, just to recognizing what the return on investment is, the schools actually benefit those folks in ways that are probably not well understood, and that's something I think we can do to better publicize going forward.
Thanks, Wilbur. Okay, so I only have 2 items. One is that new this year to the board were 2 representative roles. One was Anna's Arts Coalition, and the other one was an interfaith council liaison, which is me. So Dr. Mammon and I have been meeting with a lot of our interfaith community because they are a huge part of East Brunswick, and Holly Sarame, who leads that organization. So that's been very valuable. I think it's something that I always wanted for that to exist. So I'm glad that it does, because I think that speaks to our students, what their values are, what our families want to see, and that those meetings have been going well and yet to be continued. The other thing was Lou and I were at our Governance 2 training yesterday, and they spoke about Governance 2. For those that don't know, it's a board mandatory training in your second year on the board, and it's about student achievement and finance. And they talked about this Lighthouse study, which is the largest board study ever done. And the study found that if a board is successful, that is directly tied to student outcomes. So you could have the best curriculums, the best everything, but if your board is not successful, those 2 things don't go hand in hand. And I just want to say that sitting here tonight, I know our kids are in good hands, not just because we have a great superintendent and a business administrator, but because I'm surrounded by all of you guys, and I know we're going to do great things, and I'm very hopeful. I know, to Alexandra's point, like this is such a different place from where we were last year. I was in the audience last year, but it was very, yeah, we were crying. We were crying. So this is just a very different place, and I couldn't be prouder. So thank you all. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Mac.
Thank you. No, thanks, guys. All right, motion to adjourn.
Move.
Oh, Lori and Wilbur.
Oh, sorry.
Discussion.
Sorry, I'm
All
pulling
in
back.
Return on investment.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We are adjourned.